the Truman Show structure review section. So just a few thoughts on the movie. I love this movie. I sort of like it more and more as time goes by. When it first came out, in a way, you feel like Jim Carrey gets in the way, but in another way, without Jim Carrey, it might not have worked. As I mentioned in the Groundhog Day, the way they changed that into a rom-com from a drama, this was also done here. And by making it a comedy, it does let the audience in, it lets the story in. You could actually say, as I said in the pitch section, that the genre is one of the newest of genres, you could say, which is rebellion against the one. So you see that in dystopian books, like there's a controlling power, a society, our rulers in society, you've got to rebel against it, which is tremendously difficult to do, as we've seen in the COVID lockdown period. We've all been forced imprisonment, all debate stifled. And that's in the Truman Show. All your friends and family will be against you if you try to stand up against the one. I imagine this rebellion against the one story will become more popular. The one thing it doesn't do in this story, though, well, let's say, in 1984, of which is the greatest version of the story, I suppose, is he fails, whereas in this he succeeds, thus making it the comedy, thus making it a more hopeful movie. There's another thing that happens in this film as well, is as Truman is working out what's going on, how everyone's lying to him, the scam of society, the music used is triumphant. It's the music of success. And I can imagine another filmmaker might have used the music of terror. So they transform his discovery of the fakery of the controlled world into this great rising up of the insights within him. It's a really, it might seem obvious now the thing's done, but I bet that was a really tricky decision. And from interviews I've listened to, I think Peter Weir's suggestions just completely transformed this into something really special. And I think it's a good note to take for other people writing dystopian fiction, rebellion against the one stories. One thing you could say in this story, which I would love to see someone do a different version of this, is that when he breaks free, he has to do it alone. So what has been disallowed from this Hollywood flick is the idea that society itself will break free. And you could say that the ending of the story is that if you break free from the lies that control us, you're on your own. So good luck. So that is, if you like, the opposite of revolutionary thinking, that you would change society, society would be with you, that many people, your family, your friends, would all gain the insights. Have we seen that story? I mean, it's a taboo story. Obviously, we're in a world controlled by war and finance, and so you can't do any stories that attack that. And as I've commented before in previous things, if really you want to be a big star, you've got to do pro-war films, pro-violence films. So you look at the character of Truman, he doesn't use violence to achieve his goal. It's a transformation of his insights and intelligence, led by love. Whereas someone like Tarantino, the most applauded director in Hollywood, it's all his characters have to use violence That's the only solution. That's the only thing he could think of. And he always frames the violence as having no meaning outside of movies. Well, you know, there's a reason movies cost millions and millions of dollars. And it's not because, well, anyway, a story for another time. But yeah, I mean, again, you look at Jim Cameron's movies, it's only Titanic where the hero, Kate Winslet, does not use violence to achieve her goals, but all of his other films, you have to be a violent killer to succeed. I mean, the Truman Show does pull off a really difficult trick. It manages to be the light comedy, it manages to be romance, and it manages to ask quite big questions about our lives. It's hard to do a rebellion against the one story without becoming morbid or absurd. Because one wants to write the great story and be very dramatic, or one cannot really hold the horror of it without getting lost in the absurdity of this horror. So Truman Show is quite a unique story. Interesting that the writer has not really, I mean, he's done a few things, he's directed himself, but somehow perhaps handling his own work has not been the best thing for him. Like, who's that guy that worked with Michel Gondry on Eternal Sunshine? Anyway, that guy who's an interesting writer, but as a director, it's just, he sort of goes astray. Anyway, I might do that, Eternal Sunshine, as another one. So yeah, Truman Show, great fun. It's the Orwell that is easy to swallow. It's Orwell with a spoonful of sugar, something like that.